Despite what the former president and his allies have said for now more than 2.5 years, the Georgia election was not stolen, and I had no right to overturn the election on January 6th.
This is a grand jury in a very conservative state that said this guy needs to be indicted, right? This isn't just the Department of Justice and the idea that it's all politicized.
She didn't just charge him, she threw the book at him. It's a very, very impressive document.
I think that this indictment looks like, to a lot of Americans, looks like piling on.
I didn't think it was a necessary thing to do once you saw that Jack Smith was charging him federally for the very same conduct.
I think this is going to be a very hard case to bring to trial. But yes, I think the risk is worthwhile because the people deserve to know whether Donald Trump is a felon.
Donald Trump should withdraw from the race because of what he is facing. And if you put our country first, then that's exactly what you would do.
This is Michael Popok, Legal AF, Mike Pence, Georgia. The integrity of the Georgia election and Donald Trump are all colliding in one place because Mike Pence is going to be compelled to testify in Georgia against Donald Trump, according to new reporting coming out of The Guardian and Martin Pengelly. Somebody that has reviewed the sealed records has determined that Mike Pence is on that list, and that should come as no surprise because Fani Willis is particularly interested in that video clip that I led off this hot take with. That was done on the 15th of August of 2023, back in those halcyon days when Mike Pence thought he could win the Republican nomination and was trying to position himself against Donald Trump and was telling anybody who would listen that the elections were fair and square. Donald Trump lost the election. Donald Trump knew he lost the election. And as Mike Pence has said time and time again, he did his constitutional duty at the end and recognized the electoral certificates for Joe Biden and certified the election in his favor. That particular clip is interesting because, as you heard, first of all, what you didn't hear in the clip is that Mike Pence was roundly booed by the audience. Who was the audience for that particular clip? He was in Indianapolis addressing state lawmakers at the National Conference of State Legislators, mainly Republican, and they didn't like his position. And so they booed him when he said the Georgia election was not stolen. Donald Trump's victory was not stolen. Joe Biden won fair and square, and I did my constitutional duty. That's not the first time that Mike Pence said something almost exactly like that. I'm going to run a clip next, and then I'm going to tell you what it all means for the likely testimony of Mike Pence and why it's so devastating and will kneecap Donald Trump in his defense at the time of trial in Georgia, if not at, don't forget, federal criminal case in March. We can expect Mike Pence being a witness there as well. We're focused here on Georgia because of the leak that Mike Pence is definitely on the Georgia list. But I can assure you he's on the D.C. Jack Smith election interference list as well. Let me run a clip that happened actually before the clip that I just ran on the 6th of August, 9 days earlier, on Face the Nation that was then being hosted by Major Garrett. Pence was asked a very similar set of questions about Georgia, the election, his constitutional duties, his rights, and what he could and couldn't do. And he didn't hold back on his attack of Donald Trump. Listen to this. It's going to be very similar to what we're going to hear when he takes the oath in a wood-paneled courtroom and testifies against Donald Trump in these criminal cases. Let's roll that clip.
Mr. Vice President, you're in New Hampshire. Recently, as you were going to an event, some Trump supporters came to you and called you a traitor, said you were a sellout, said you didn't uphold the Constitution. To what degree does that rattle you?
You know, I know in my heart of hearts that on January 6th, I did my duty. I kept my oath to the Constitution of the United States. And the thing that I'm encouraged about, Major, is as we travel not only here in New Hampshire, but around the country, is more and more Americans are recognizing that we kept our oath that day. And I think with this week's news, I've had so many people come up to me and just express their appreciation for the stand that we took, by God's grace, to do our duty, to see to the peaceful transfer of power. And I'm encouraged by that. I must tell you, look, President Trump was wrong. He was wrong then, he's wrong now. I had no right to overturn the election. And more and more Americans are coming up to me every day and recognizing that. And for my part, I'm running for president in part because, frankly, President Trump asked me to put him over the Constitution that day, but I chose the Constitution, and I always will.
So I want to ask you about characterizations that have been made by those who speak on behalf of the president's legal team. They've said this week that all they asked of you, that is to say the president, was to delay the proceedings to allow states to conduct an audit. Is that a truthful representation of what you were asked to do, Mr. Vice President?
Major, that's not what happened. As I wrote about in my book, as I've spoken about very openly, and frankly, as is recounted in aspects of the pleadings that were filed this week, from sometime in the middle of December, the president began to be told that I had some authority to reject or return votes back to the states. I had no such authority. No vice president in American history had ever asserted that authority, and no one ever should. I mean, your viewers can go to Article 2 of the Constitution and see that it's very clear. It says that the vice president, as president of the Senate, should preside over the House and Senate in a joint session, and that the Electoral College votes shall be opened and shall be counted. There was no discretion ever given to the vice president in history, nor should there ever be. I had no right to overturn the election, and Kamala Harris.
All right, there you have it. I did my constitutional duty. Donald Trump knew he lost. I knew that he lost. I only had one role as the in the chamber of the Senate to certify the election. I could do nothing else, and anybody else that believes otherwise is not living in reality. That's Mike Pence, who sort of, to paraphrase Mike Pence, come to Jesus moment in writing his book, So Help Me God, which of course contains information that he's denied in the past and will be easy fodder and pickings for the prosecutors to use to walk him through his testimony. Did you know over 80% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about? It's too easy to subscribe to a free trial of something and then completely forget about it once you stop using it, right as the monthly charges start rolling in. That's why I'm such a big fan of Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. With Rocket Money, you can easily cancel the ones you don't want with just the press of a button. No more long hold times or annoying emails with customer service. Rocket Money does all the work for you. Rocket Money can even negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Take it from me, I'm a huge fan of Rocket Money, and they have saved me on numerous occasions. Rocket Money also lets you monitor all your expenses in one place, recommends custom budgets based on your past spending, and they'll even send you notifications when you've reached your spending limits. With over 5 million users and counting, Rocket Money has helped save its customers an average of $720 a year and $1 billion in total savings so far. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/legalaf. That's rocketmoney.com/legalaf. rocketmoney.com/legalaf. We know from other reporting that came out in the last 2 weeks, including things that were in his memoir, that Mike Pence, is also cooperating with Jack Smith. So we have to presume that he's also having met or is going to meet with Fani Willis. They're not going to put him up there blind without knowing what he's going to say. So I'm sure they've debriefed him. And certainly we have reporting that Jack Smith has met with the former vice president and knows the aspects of his testimony. How do we know that? Because in the superseding indictment, for instance, in the District of Columbia, there is a reference to a conversation between Mike Pence and Donald Trump in which Mike Pence told Jack Smith that there was a typo in his memoir. A comma was placed in the wrong place. He told Donald Trump, this is what Pence told Jack Smith, and I'm sure he will testify to it in the Georgia case. He told Donald Trump, you know I can't overturn the will of the people and not certify that election. In his book, it looked like a question instead of an emphatic statement of resistance, if you will, by Mike Pence, a momentary aspect of finding his backbone in his spine when it was required. That's we know the testimony is going to be. I told Donald Trump that he lost. Donald Trump knew that he lost. Despite knowing that he lost, he launched into this pressure campaign on me and elected officials, wanted me to do the same thing, encouraged me to pick up the phone and make phone calls, which I would not do, to elected officials, members of the state houses, and different people, to pressure them to delay the certification and stop the peaceful transfer of power. I would not do that. And at the end, when I was pressured as vice president, I went out and got my own legal scholar, former federal judge, Federalist Society, member of Mount Rushmore for the Federalists, Mike Ludwig, who told me in no uncertain terms, I do not have the power constitutionally to delay the certification, a merely ministerial, ceremonial position. And so you'll also hear Mike Pence chuckle in some of these videos where it's reported to him that Donald Trump's lawyers are welcoming the day that Mike Pence testifies. I assure you they are not. They are dreading that day. That is whistling past the graveyard, as we like to say in the law. They do not want Mike Pence. They do not want Mike Pence to say all of those things I just laid out, which establish criminal intent of Donald Trump. And now Georgia is going to make it very Georgia specific about comments that he made about the fairness of the Georgia election. And knowing that, they're going to lead him down the path of what did the president know at the time and when did he know it? And when did you know that he knew that he lost the election, right? And all the other pressure campaign on you, what was your feeling about that since you've told people that you will uphold the Constitution? Do you think Donald Trump was trying to uphold the Constitution? Or as you said in this video clip that we showed on the hot take, was Donald Trump trying to put you above the Constitution, meaning a man above the law? That's going to be the nature of the testimony by Mike Pence. You saw it in the two clips. That's just the tip of the iceberg, or the clip of the iceberg, pun intended. We're going to hear a lot more from Mike Pence. If you read his memoir, you can pull out about 30 or 40 good questions and good answers for the prosecution against Donald Trump just from that. The Jan 6 report, same thing. And put it all together with these, combined with these two clips and public statements, including the one I led the hot take off with that has the most interest for Fani Willis in Georgia because of its connection to Georgia. And what does that make? What does that make? That makes a whole jambalaya of problems for Donald Trump as his former vice president testifies against him. Now, look, Mike Pence is effectively, like Liz Cheney, committed political suicide, public political suicide, by going against the cult leader, the MAGA leader, Donald Trump. There is no reason Liz Cheney should no longer be in the House. I've got my issues with Liz Cheney on certain issues, but there's no reason she should have been thrown out of the House because of her taking a position that Donald Trump is a madman that could never be left to the White House again, let into the White House again. Same thing with Mike Pence. I don't like Mike Pence. He's not going to be my choice for president, but he shouldn't have been ostracized and made an outcast by the Republican Party because he's telling the truth about what happened, as you heard from the clips, what happened in and around starting the end of the election night until Jan 6th and beyond. He's a truth teller. It's hard. He committed political suicide as a result. I'm not asking for him to be credited for it. He didn't cover himself in any glory. He could have done things earlier than that. The fact that he had to avoid being captured potentially by the Secret Service and whisked away from the Capitol and decided, no, I need to stay at the Capitol to do this function. We also know other reporting that suggests that Mike Pence did not want to preside over the Senate for the certification and be put in that position of opposing Donald Trump at all. And it almost fell to Senator Grassley, who's a full-time supporter of Donald Trump. And Grassley would have probably not certified the election, delayed it, and or recognized the Trump fake certificates. So I'm not here to celebrate Mike Pence. I'm just here to report at the intersection of law, politics, and justice what it means for the Trump case, the case against Trump, both in the District of Columbia and in Georgia. We'll continue to follow all developments everywhere they are and anything related to Donald Trump or that's important to that corner of real estate that we cover on MeidasTouch called Legal AF and the intersection of law, politics, and justice. Follow me Michael Popok. You can catch me on Wednesdays and Saturday nights at 8 p.m. on a podcast we call Legal AF, video version on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. Help them get to 2 million. That's where you're watching me right now. Free subscribe and help them get to 2 million followers and subscribers. And then on audio podcast platform, you can pick up Legal AF, any podcast platform of your choosing. Leave me a comment. Give me a thumbs up. It helps with the ratings, helps me stay on the air with these kind of hot takes. So until my next hot take and until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.